the Knicks, huh?
But the best thing about New York City is
K-N-I-C-K. Everybody say go New York, go New York, go!
Go New York, go New York, go!
Everybody, welcome to the New York Knicks podcast, episode 665. I am Jay. How you doing, Mark?
Good. The Knicks are they're 10. They've won 10 of the last 14 games. Everything's good. No one's unhappy, right?
No, nobody's unhappy at all.
10-4 in your last 14. Everyone's thrilled. No problems. No one's complaining. Everyone's just super excited, right?
Sure, we'll go with that.
Okay. I think last show we were riding a 9-game winning streak. We were everyone was in happy, everything's going right land. Then the Knicks are now 1-3 in the last 4. So it's all about perspective. But the perspective right now is it's the end of the world, and Tibbs is going to ruin this team. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, at least they got to play the Raptors, which is like a free win. Do you know that the East is so bad? The Hornets lost 18 of 19 games, won 1 game, and passed the Raptors in the standings.
I thought the Raptors were supposed to be good. They have R.J. Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley. Next year, they will have committed, I believe, over $100 million to Scotty Barnes, R.J. Barrett, and Emmanuel Quickley. That will be almost their entire cap.
Yeah,
They're headed places, right?
They're capped out, and they're going to lose Bruce Brown and I think maybe even Pirtle. Like, they're not in a great shape.
You think being 8-29 and being all in on that roster is a bad thing?
Well, at least they're going to get rewarded for that with a good draft pick because our lottery system's awesome.
You really don't like the lottery system, huh?
I think it's terrible.
Shouldn't it be trying to make inept franchises better?
No.
As a Knicks fan, I like when the draft would help inept franchises because that's usually us.
I think it should be completely random.
Okay, you're completely random.
I mean, is anybody complaining that the Hawks got the number 1 pick this year?
I mean, only because no one thinks that highly of the number 1 pick. No one's really complaining.
Yeah, but like, they were like a mediocre team. They weren't a terrible team. Like, it's not the end of the world if that happens.
Okay, well, whatever. By the way, why are the Raptors such trash? Like, Barrett's numbers are actually more efficient than he was as a Knick. Quickly's pretty good. I mean, they're both good on offense. Does the coach just say, "Hey guys, we'll be better on offense if we play no defense"?
I don't know. I knew they were going to be bad, but this is really really
They're
bad.
shockingly bad. Like,
Yeah.
And they have a bunch of good offensive players. Like R.J. Barrett's he's not bad offensive player. Quickly's a decent offensive player. Greg Dick's having, I mean,
Breakout
I guess year
season.
2.
Yeah.
Breakout season. Pirtle is like, he's a pretty good offensive big man, not good on defense. Scotty Barnes was he rookie of the year like 2 years ago?
Yeah.
And why are they? Why don't they know how to win games?
I don't know. I mean, their bench is really bad, but I don't know. Other teams have bad benches. Speaking of the Knicks.
Okay, you want to pivot back? So, since last show, the Knicks had their mighty matchup with the OKC Thunder. Also, on a side note, Cleveland beat the Thunder last night. And Cleveland right now, I think as us Knicks fans, we want to say they're a joke and they're going to be out in the first round. They've been out in the first round the last 2 years. Cleveland seems to, at least as far as the regular season, they figured something out. And they look really, really deep and really good right now.
They're on pace for, I think, 70, 71 wins right now.
Right. They didn't really make any big changes to the roster either. They changed coaches. What's his name? The guy the other contender to be the Knicks coach, former Nets coach.
Kenny
Atkinson, who clearly is getting things right there. But like last night, Donovan Mitchell had a terrible game as far as shooting. And they still beat the Thunder.
Yeah, well, they're a deep team. They kept their starting lineup together, and then they just added some peripheral pieces, and just had some guys that just got better. Mobley got better. Garland got better. So consistency.
Wade got better.
I mean,
But the
it's
bench pieces are getting better also.
it helps not trying to incorporate like 8, 9 new pieces every season.
Yeah, but they've been incorporating guys. But yeah, they've adding less.
We can
They've
add a
been together for a
couple,
few.
but like,
The starters have been together for longer. That's
Yeah.
for sure. And guys are getting better. Okay, Knicks. So Knicks played a hell of a 3 quarters against the Thunder before falling apart.
yeah, yeah, it was.
Yeah,
I thought they were gonna do it. I really did.
the second quarter, the offense was humming along, moving the ball as good as they've done all season, as good as they've done under Tibbs. It was an amazing second quarter. And then the wheels started falling off in the third quarter, and like the fourth quarter just completely fell apart.
Yeah, yeah.
And the Knicks, I feel like, played kind of their heart out in that game. And some guys are like kind of like dealing with nagging injuries. Then they got their asses kicked by the Bulls, lost a they didn't get their ass kicked by the Magic, but they lost to a fairly depleted Magic team. If they had lost to the Raptors last night, I feel like we'd be maybe in angry mode.
I
But
probably, if they lost to the Raptors last night, I probably would have said, let's just do a show next week.
What is going on, Jay? What is your take for why the Knicks are stumbling?
Well, there's a couple reasons. One, obviously, the Knicks bench is not very good. I mean, they are missing McBride and Mitch, which would be the 2 best Knicks bench players.
Yes. The bench is really, and McBride also had coming off a streak of really not playing that well, but he's obviously better than anyone they have on the bench by far. What do you think of the Landry Shamet? I guess let's talk about these bench pieces. First of all, what do you think of Campaign up to this point?
I thought he was good like the first 20 games, and he just seems to get worse each game now. And lately he just looks like a mess. And
I mean, there's a reason why he's bounced around the league, and we're kind of, and not been that helpful anywhere he's gone. Like we watch him play, and I'm like, okay, I get it why he's a journeyman.
yeah, he's like just good enough to stay in the league.
Absolutely.
He's not terrible, but he's streaky, and when he's off, it's just really bad.
Right. I feel like if your ninth guy was Campaign, you're like, totally fine. He's like helpful on the bench, comes in. Like Philly last year, they weren't really relying on him. He'd come in at times, but wasn't like a really important cog in the wheel. If he's your 6th man or 7th man, like he's one of the guys you have to get some production from, it can be a little painful.
I mean, the Knicks do have 2 guys out. He should be the 9th man. He should be behind McBride, Mitch, Precious. That would make him 9th.
Right. I still feel like also, I know you're saying 9th man. I still think Mitch and Precious are going to be tough. Like I'm curious to see how this is going to work when they're both back. I think if anything, Mitch might just take Precious' minutes.
You think?
Well, Precious seems very. He can't shoot the 3. He's made a couple of 3. He doesn't seem like a versatile player. Like he really. It seems like he'd fill the same role that Mitch would fill, more or less. I guess Precious has been substituting a little bit more for OG also.
That's what I think.
Like Precious. He's helpful, but like he's not.
I think
as helpful,
Precious backs OG up more than Towns when Mitch is back, and they just don't do Precious and Mitch at the same time.
Yeah, they can't be on the court at the same time. Absolutely, the spacing would be tough, and Mitch becomes the go-to default for center, and Precious. And maybe I guess they're probably not going to start Mitch, even though I'd like to see how is Mitch next to Towns and Towns at the 4. But Precious's minutes just go down basically. He's playing more like 10 minutes a game, and it's really more for coming in basically for OG.
Yeah. Well, now that Mitch has been out for so long, honestly, you have to bring him off the bench. He hasn't played in almost a year, so
yeah,
you bring him in for 15 minutes. You're not gonna if you start him. One, it's tougher assignment. And 2, he's probably going to have to play more minutes. So right now, you just play him 15 minutes off the bench. And maybe he's ramped up come playoff time, and then he could up that to like 20 minutes and maybe play him and Towns together a little bit. But when he comes back immediately, like he's just coming off the bench.
And by when he comes back, so far the reports are he's not even close, and it's January 9th.
I'm so confused because like his Instagram, he's posting workout videos and he's making like subtle hints that like he might be back soon, and then like the reports saying that no. So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, his social media stuff is kind of weird, and like
Maybe
you're like
he
looking
feels
for
like he's coming back, and
clues.
the doctors are just like no. I don't know.
I mean, he probably feels like he's doing well, but they're like, you're not like he's not running. They said yet, which is a major step to playing
It's a
basketball.
big part of basketball. I got to admit, yeah.
Yeah, I see running as being a pretty like, and also when you just start running, you're still it at the very earliest. It sounds like after your All Star break.
Yeah, yeah. If he started running tomorrow, he wouldn't be back for a month. It's about a month after you
Yeah.
start running, because running is the first step, and then you have to do full contact, and then you do scrimmages. So it's like it's a long road.
It's a long road, and obviously, all that matters really is he's back for the end of the season, so he can be in healthy and in like rhythm for like the playoffs.
Yeah,
If you get him back in March, it's fine.
March 1st would be like the latest I'd be comfortable him coming back.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, well, no matter when he comes back, you're gonna try to use him, but if he looks terrible, he's not gonna play.
No, he's gonna play. We know
No, I'm
he
saying if
can
he looks
play.
terrible, if he comes back and he's just like he's completely like he's not fitting in well, or just because like he's just if he comes back March 20th and he just is not in full shape and cannot really contribute, he's obviously not going to play. But hopefully he will get back to most of 80% Mitch would be very helpful in this roster.
Yeah, very helpful. So
Um,
I also learned you've been talking about TJ Warren for a while now.
yes.
So the Knicks can only take on another 500,000 in salary, so they can't take on Warren until much later in the season. I think mid March, because his salary goes through the end of the season. So they have to wait until he would only get the veterans minimum prorated portion of 500,000.
Why? Okay, so the Knicks are so capped out. They're under the second apron, right?
And they can't hit that. If they There's so many penalties if you do that they just can't
What's
do
the
it.
penalties? What makes it so awful?
It's like if you do a trade, it has to be like almost exact dollar, and you can only do a 1-for-1, and you can't do a trade a draft pick, and I don't know. There's a whole bunch of like just ridiculous
You,
things.
I guess basically you would not want to go to the second apron until you're sure you have the team.
Yeah, and even
'Cause-
then, I think you don't want to do it too many years in a row, because then you just start getting the hell taxed out of you. So like, yeah,
Okay.
I think if they think they have a championship roster, I'm sure they'll hit the second apron. But right now, they want a little bit of wiggle room.
So the Knicks, when a team's at the deadline, cut players, the Knicks can't add anyone. The only way the Knicks can add someone is to take out, like, send salary out to bring salary in.
I believe so. Oh, well, unless they offer somebody, I guess 500,000.
Right, but you can't even do that. You can't go below league minimum standards.
Yeah,
There should be some exception for signing guys at the minimum. Like that seems kind of ridiculous. You can't even sign a guy at the goddamn minimum.
I
It
thought
seems
that
like that's
was
bad for players.
I thought that was always that was the old CBA. You can that's what like those Miami teams did. They capped out with the big three, and then they just kept on taking on minimum contracts.
Right. I thought you were always able to, but I guess now with the aprons, you could do that, but now you're gonna hit the aprons. And the second apron will just screw you. So like it shouldn't count against the I'm surprised the players weren't like when they were negotiating this being like, hey, if the minimum salaries count against the apron, veterans are not gonna get jobs. Like you're gonna be out of the
Yeah.
league. Like TJ Warren is a useful player, but there are probably teams like I don't want to pay $6 million to this guy. I can't pay $6 million to this guy because he'll put us in the second apron. So he's gonna play in the G League basically.
Right, yeah. It's like everybody was focused on the top tier salaries and wasn't thinking about the other 90% of the league.
Yeah, I think it's a mess. It's a bit of a messed up system with that regard.
It also
Okay,
just
so the Knicks.
backfired because I really don't like how you basically lose your bird rights because it used to be you can go over to re-sign players already on your roster. It actually hurts continuity, which
You can't go, or you can't go over. You can go over. You're just going to hit the apron, basically, the second apron.
right, and you can't go like way over like the Warriors did, where they had, they were like double the salary cap, but they drafted smartly, so they should be rewarded for drafting smartly. Now you're not going to get rewarded for drafting smartly.
Also, now it's become impossible to make trades because there's so many. So you have like I think the floor is 90%. So you have to have you have to cover 90% of the cap,
Yeah.
or you're paying a penalty basically. Either
Yeah.
way, so teams give out some big contracts, but then you can't move those contracts at the deadline. So the Wizards have a bunch of contracts they'd like to move. It's really hard to move those unless they take money back. The Heat would like to work out a trade for Jimmy Butler because Jimmy Butler is the unhappiest $50 million a year guy in America, in the world. But it's hard to do that because you can't take, unless you take back an equally bad contract or a combination.
Well, the whole thing was to stop that kind of stuff, to stop Jimmy Butler demanding a trade and all that stuff from happening. So that part it worked the way they wanted it to.
Well, it didn't really, because like he demanded a trade, and now the Heat are like, well, we would trade him if the rules weren't so terrible.
And yeah, so there's only a handful of contracts in the league that can match. One of them being Beal, who has a no trade clause, and
How does one of the a guy who's just not very good anymore have this? Bradley Beal may be the worst contract in the NBA.
Well,
he's not good. The Phoenix Suns have benched him, or at least they're coming off the bench, not benched him, but coming off the bench. No trade clause. He does nothing to really help a team win anymore.
Well, that's the thing. The Wizards every year have to make just one horrendous contract signing, and Beal was the one they did a few years ago. He's still got 2 years after this one.
It's amazing also, they signed him to the dumbest possible contract, and another team was like, wow, we could get him?
Right. I know you guys are winning 20 games a year with him, but we think we could complete our big three with him.
I mean, like, really, Matt Ishbia, the owner of the Suns, has done something almost impossible. I'm going to take a generational talent like Kevin Durant. I'm going to take Devin Booker, who's goddamn awesome, and lose more games than you win.
It's crazy that they're under 500, but also Beal was injured for like 5 straight seasons before Phoenix got him. So I don't know what. It's not like this came out of nowhere.
No, it did not come out of nowhere. He already had major injury issues, and even if he's healthy, he's not that great. He's a high volume, like smallish guard. Like, what is he, 6'2"? He doesn't play a lot of defense.
Yeah, he's 6'4", but
6'4", okay.
But I mean, I think they were looking at his back-to-back 30-point game seasons. But when they traded for him, he was on back-to-back 23-point game seasons. So
I mean, either way, there's the joke of there's only one basketball. He has to do more because you already have 2 guys who are electric at scoring. You have Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. You think you're just going to add 30 points to like we were scoring 90 points a game. Now we're going to score 120. That's just how it works.
I think they thought they were just going to outscore everybody to such a comic level that defense didn't matter that much.
Well, now they have trouble outscoring like the Charlotte Hornets.
I
know. Okay, let's go back. So here's something I want to cover with you, Jay, about the Knicks. So what is the big thing in Knicks land right now? I mean, I mentioned it before. What's the big thing that's driving people crazy?
The bench minutes.
Or just the minutes in general. It's not even
the starters'
the
minutes. Conversely, the starters'
basically.
Yeah. Well, yeah. They go hand in hand. Yes.
They go hand in hand. By the way, so I'm going to read you a quote from Cat related to this.
Okay.
And by the way, Cat was a guy that, tell me, there were some concerns for trading for him because Tibbs had coached him previously. And one of the big reasons it didn't work out in Minnesota was Cat and Tibbs' relationships, reportedly.
Yeah.
Okay. Cat says, I feel like you give him flack all the time, no matter where he is. And by him, he means Tibbs. but you all keep talking about him, and that means he keeps getting a job, and that means everyone keeps respecting him and knowing what he can do for a team. He's done it in Minnesota. I'm sorry, he did it in Chicago. He did it in Boston. He did it with us in Mini, and he's doing it here, even before I got here. So say what you want about Tibbs, he gets the job done.
I mean, we've said it before. He took like a 23 win roster, almost the same exact roster, and had them in the playoffs the very next season. So he gets a lot out of his players. It's just there are some things that drive people crazy. They overblow it a little bit, but I will say the Raptors game, he unloads the bench with 2 minutes left, and it's like a 23-point game, and the Knicks win by like 11 or 12. They let up a 12. They gave up 12 points in 2 minutes. This is why Tibbs is never unloading that bench with like 4 or 5 minutes left.
I mean, I guess we didn't get through the bench, but basically, Shamet showed something in the Toronto game. He showed his defense has been okay. He hasn't been doing that much on offense. Precious is limited, but he's been okay. He's got some monster dunks at times. Matt Ryan can't be in the NBA. Jacob Toppin's can't be in the NBA. The rookies are rookies and a bit limited. You can give them more minutes. They can develop more, but none of them are taking the world by storm. Pacome Dadier basically hasn't looked amazing in down in Westchester. Kolick had one big game in Westchester, but he had some stinkers there, or some mediocre games there also. He looks good. I feel like Kolick looks maybe as good at Payne as Payne in times, and sometimes not. I want him to get more minutes, but like it's not like the Knicks have amazing options, right?
Right. I think Precious and Shamet have looked fine. Not like world beaters, but they look fine. And then obviously McBride's really good, and Mitch is good. I mean, that's 9 right there. We say it every week. We would like a big wing. Don't know how they're going to get one. Maybe it is.
Apparently, they can only get one with 5 days to go in the season.
Right. Maybe it is T.J. Warren, and like March 15th or whatever the hell they can sign him. Maybe that's the plan. And then all of a sudden the Knicks have like a 10 deep roster.
Yeah, maybe that could be the.
I mean, we could be doing an episode 2 months from now and be like, wow, 10 deep, nobody's playing over 34 minutes. Like, this is great.
T.J. Warren scoring 40 a game from the bench. It's crazy.
I mean,
T.J. Warren also in the bubble playoffs was amazing. He was unstoppable in the bubble playoffs.
Yeah.
It's been a while, and some injuries. But okay, so the Knicks bench is kind of garbage, more or less, with some like okay players. It's not a good bench, right?
Right now, no. I mean, when you have like 4 serviceable bench players and 2 of them are injured, it's not a good bench.
I'm going to read one more quote, and then you could be the minutes police. I'm going to make the argument that Tibbs is not being so crazy with the starting lineup.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to start off with this quote. So Windhorst reports, internally, Knicks believe lack of depth turned into a strength. Starters have played 150 minutes more than any other lineup in the NBA. That's times helped solve the Knicks' continuity after 3 huge trades. Fast-tracked process Knicks coaches expected to take much longer. So in many ways, the 5 are playing together. They're one of the best lineups in the NBA. And part of that is because they're playing so many minutes, they're getting to know each other really fast.
I mean, that is a good point. Counterpoint, they do have 2 injury-prone players in their starting lineup right now. And all these minutes early in the season, it's just a risk. If you're complaining about the bench depth, watch what happens if one of these guys gets a long-term injury. I mean, we already know that if Towns misses a game, you're getting like 25 minutes of Sims. I don't know if anybody really wants that.
No, I agree. So the question is then, are the minutes really going to lead to injuries? And I guess like the point people will make is that like it seems obvious the more you play, the more you're risking things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you were aware that like Tibbs has been known in the past to have like really hardcore practices. Have you heard that?
Yes.
Do you know what's happened to practice?
It's gone.
Practice
right?
now is much lighter. He understands guys are playing a lot of minutes, so practices are at half speed more often.
Okay. I mean, that's
There's
good.
less practicing. So like the wear and tear in the body, yes, they're playing high number of minutes in the games, but we're also not putting less wear and tear on them in practice.
Mm-hmm.
Fair point.
Yeah, no, that is a fair point.
Okay, I got another one for you. So, Walt Frazier, do you know he played 43 minutes a game in the 1970-71 season?
Well, I mean, Wilt played 48.5 one season, but
What's he? So Frazier played 43.2. Another season was 41.7. Another season was 41.1. Another season was 41.1 minutes. He seemed to do totally fine playing upwards of 40 minutes a game, and no one was screaming. Well, we have no idea if people were screaming minutes, please, because back in 1970s. But like, generally speaking, he played no issue.
yeah, I just feel like the players run around a lot more than they used to. There are a lot more miles on them.
I remember back in that day when you watched the film clips, everyone after every play stood around for 10 minutes to catch their breath. I
There
totally
wasn't
remember
a
that.
lot of. It was more like one guy had the ball, and a lot of them were kind of standing around. There was a lot of ISO stuff. There was
2001 to the 2001 2002 season, Latrell Sprewell played 41 minutes a game. 2004 2005, Stephon Marbury played 40 minutes a game. Jamal Crawford in the 07-08 season played 39.9 minutes a game.
I
Latrell played 39.2 minutes a game in the 2000-2001 season. Marbury played 39 minutes a game in the 03-04 season. Mello in 2013-14 season played 38.7 minutes a game. All those seasons, these players did that. None of them really had any injury issues those years.
it there. I guess there is not a proven correlation. I mean, I'm looking at my fantasy team right now, and I have injuries to Aaron Gordon, or Herbert Jones, who don't play like crazy amount of minutes, and I also had injuries to Alvarado, Cade, Giddy, Gafford. Like none of those guys play a ton of minutes. Like
Jay,
there's
name me a player who does load management who also doesn't have injury issues. Kawhi Leonard, the leading proponent of load management, injured all the time. Paul George likes load management, injured all the time.
true.
Tell me the load management guys. All the load management guys injured all the time. Guys are injured. This is the era of load management. All those players get injured anyway.
It could just be random. It's almost like professional sports is hard on the body, and some players react to it better than others.
The NBA did a study, and it's self-serving because the NBA did the study, but they said there was no link, no actual correlation between minutes played, or actually load management, and guys staying healthy.
Yeah, I think you're winning me over because I'm looking at the box scores, and sometimes I see a Nick playing between like 38 and 42 minutes, and I'm wondering, you don't want him to play less than 36 because then you're you're just playing worse players like for more than a quarter of the game. So is this like 2 to 5 less minutes going to stop a catastrophic injury? My only complaint is when the Knicks are up by 20 with like 4 minutes left.
But are those? So I know your complaint there. So like it's 4 minutes ago. Why are the guys even out there? You're going to risk injury.
Yeah.
But you know when the Knicks are up by 20 with 4 minutes to go in the game, guys are jogging. Everyone's kind of taking it at half speed.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they're out there protecting the lead, but they're really also not really pushing themselves. Does it matter if they sit down for those 2 minutes or they're kind of just jogging out there?
I would rather see guys like Kolick or Huckporty like get an extra 2 minutes of run because they're going to hustle the whole time, and
they almost blew a lead to the Toronto Raptors.
they did well. I'm going to put all that on Toppin and Ryan. And
Okay, I brought more research here. Okay, so you're saying, okay, maybe the guys in the 70s they played half speed and it wasn't that challenging of an era. What was the more challenging era? Like I know that now they run like they sprint all the time, which pretty much never happens actually. And the Knicks are one of the slowest paces in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
But is there an era where you felt basketball was tough? Guys got fouled really hard.
90s.
90s, okay, 90s. That must have been a really tough era. to play all those minutes, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Especially like what position in particular were you really banging down low?
Centers, rough down
Yeah.
there.
And you know, Patrick Ewing, all-time great. His knees, holy shit. He got worked, his knees issues, he got banged around. Like that was really tough on him, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so 36, 38, 38, 38, 37, 37, 37, 36, 37. Like 8, 9 straight seasons of playing minutes that would people would lose their goddamn minds over. No injury issue.
He also played 8 straight seasons playing 79 or more games.
Yeah. And there was, I mean, you want to talk about today? You're a center in the 90s. That was pretty rough.
Mm-hmm.
Seemed pretty healthy. Totally fine. But yeah, whatever. Okay, let's see who else we got here. I mean, I guess LeBron does not count because LeBron is a freak. But LeBron basically has played 37 minutes or above his entire career until recently.
Mm-hmm.
Almost never injured, right?
Until recently, yeah.
Yeah, until recently. I mean, like he's also like 40 now. Kawhi Leonard sits a ton of games, gets a lot of minutes off. His minutes are lower, can't get on the court.
Yeah.
Shaq. If someone's going to talk about getting beaten up, Shaq got beaten up all the time, right? He
Yeah.
probably had it worse than anyone.
Yeah.
Okay, Shaq. And I know he missed some games, probably partly to the fact that like overweight and so forth. But like here is his minutes. He played most games, and from age 28, he's sorry, from age 27 season, 40 minutes, 39, 36, 37, 36. He's playing minutes that again the minutes police would lose their minds, staying mostly healthy in his prime, and banging down low every game.
Yeah. I think my main complaint is the end of games. I would like to see the younger guys.
When they're chilling at the end of the game, walking, you're like, stop walking, you're gonna trip on a puddle.
It's not about injury. It's about like
I mean, if you want players to get development, totally fair.
Yeah.
Totally fair.
yeah. That's
Okay.
what I want to see. I want to see because I'm looking at Payne and I'm looking at Shamit and I'm like, what if Kolick is going to be a lot better, or what if Huck Porty is going to be a lot better? Like, let's see them for another minute or two. Maybe they do something. Maybe Tibbs is like, that was interesting. Maybe I'll give him an extra minute here or there. And I don't. Maybe he develops a little quicker. Maybe if there's an injury, it's not a complete catastrophe for a game or two. Like,
Okay, so just going back to the minutes, because I mean, like, I understand your idea basically of developing players. That makes perfect sense. But I'm just arguing against the minutes police, and that the fact has to leave the injury. So I'm looking at last season. I'm looking at the top 20 players in minutes per game.
okay,
And how many games should the guy play that you're probably like, that guy there's no real injury issue? How many games, what's the minimum number of games you want?
let's say 67.
67 games. Perfect. Of the top 20 guys in minutes per game, how many of them last season played at least 67 games?
15.
19.
Okay.
The only one being Kyrie Irving.
All right.
Let's go to the year before. We don't have to go through every season, obviously. The year before, let's go to minutes per game. Top 20. How many guys played under 67 games? It looks like two guys.
Okay.
Okay, let's see the year before. Well, the year before might have been the bubble stuff. Let's go before COVID, just to move it back a little bit. Before this whole resting guys era.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going back to the 18-19 season. How many guys played under 1, 2, 3, 4? Was this a shortened season for some reason? The 1920 season? No one's over 70 games.
Yeah, because 2020 is when COVID hit.
No, Oh, no, you're right. 2021. That's 2021. Yes, sorry. Okay, here. Okay, let's go to, this is 17-18, sorry. 17-18 season, almost everyone is over 67 games.
Okay.
So, do you think there's a strong link here, or people are overreacting?
I think people are overreacting. I think I agree it's frustrating at the end of games, but I'm not so sure that people are blaming like Luol Deng's injury on Tibbs playing him too many minutes in Chicago, even though Deng got
Right.
injured in LA. And they're saying, well, he wore him down.
They
And
say he broke him, and he was fell off by like age 29. He was like almost done.
yeah, but that's happened to so many players. It's just, I don't think it's because Tibbs did it. Like, I don't know. I feel like Tibbs gets irrational hate the way like Randall does, where it's like, I don't know what that guy did to you, but you're just looking for reasons to really hate this guy for like no reason.
He'll play players who are good. He doesn't want to play players who are not. Um, if he wants to win games, he makes guys better. Um, but yeah, going back on like every season, there's like one or two guys in the top 20 who are under the 67 game threshold you came up with. But generally, guys seem to be able to play a large number of minutes. Usually, every team seems to have at least one guy who plays at least 36 minutes a game. Your star player needs to play. The only difference this year is that Tibbs is like, okay, wait, if we're allowed to have one star player play 36 minutes, how about we have five guys to play 36 minutes? What's the goddamn difference?
Right. Yeah, I'm just wondering if those younger guys just don't look that good in practice right now because
Yeah, no, clearly
Tibbs
he's
saw
not
something in
impressed
McBride and gave him an increased role, and it wasn't like he had a breakout game. It was just one day he was like, "You're ready, go for it."
He's like you. I mean, they made a bunch of trades, but they also were like making those trades. Partly, there had been a discussion where Tibbs is like, "I think he's ready.
Yeah.
You can trade IQ."
Right, right.
Um, I think people overreact to the minutes. Clearly, these guys are not impressing Tibbs just yet in practice. I mean, the guys can get better, but at the same time, like Tibbs is not gonna. He's not gonna throw regular season games. So if a guy gets injured, he's gonna have to play. He'll have to play Kolek more, play some other guys more. He'll do it if he has to. But if he doesn't have to, he's not going to do it.
My only other argument against it is that at the end of games, pretty much the whole fourth quarter, the Knicks do look like they're getting out hustled a lot, and
Yeah.
I think they are running a little bit out of energy, and it's hard when you have 5 to 7 guys going against like 10 guys. You're going against constant fresh legs for 48 minutes.
That's
And
totally fair. That's fair.
and I think that's what happened in OKC because they were going neck and neck until the guys started looking tired and then the wheels fell off.
OKC plays at a much faster speed. The Knicks really were trying to play at that speed in the second quarter, but then they started just kind of getting gassed.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say also 82 games is a long season? They're never making the season shorter. That's just not happening. I know
No.
people are like, the season would be better if it was only 70 games. The season would be better if the NBA makes more money. They're not going to take away money.
Everyone
That's just not
agrees
happening.
70 games would be better. Try telling an owner, hey, do you want to sell 20,000 less seats 12 less times a year? Like, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, TV rights, TV. You don't want all the money they generate. Like they're not going to take less games.
Yeah.
It's just the NFL, which is a very dangerous sport, is like, what if we play 18 games? What about let's play 40 games?
I know. We're so concerned about player safety. We're adding another game.
So there's no way that's so. It's a long season. The games aren't that meaningful. You want to make the playoffs. Having the 1 seed or the 2 seed, it'd be nice. But as long as you're in a top 6, you're in the playoffs, and then you could try to win it when the playoffs. What really counts is being fresh and healthy in the playoffs, not on January 9th.
You really want that top 3 seed.
I mean, yeah, it would be beneficial.
Well, just every team for the last like 30 years has been three or higher.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. At the same time, if the Knicks were, say, the 4 seed,
Mhm.
and they make it to the next round, I'd rather play Cleveland in the second round than play the Celtics.
Would you?
Yeah, I would. We've seen Cleveland in the playoffs. We've beaten them. Celtics, I think, are the best. The Celtics, until proven otherwise, are the best team in the East.
All right, but Anyway.
You're gonna have to play one of them anyway. I would rather play the Cavs, who have on their memory folding in the playoffs 2 years in a row.
Especially if they see Mitch come back.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's do questions.
Anyway, so oh yeah, we do have questions. I was also going to bring up also. I posted this on Twitter today, and I just wanted to ask you about this.
Mhm.
Is Giannis really amazing, or is he partly amazing because the league you're not allowed to guard him?
Well, that's
He takes 10.6 free throw attempts a game.
mhm.
Next is Anthony Davis at 8.2. Brunson, who like they say foul hunts, it's 6.9. SJ is now up to 7.8. In some ways, guys, like I don't know if you're allowed to guard, if Giannis had the same whistle as Cat, he's still a really good player, but maybe he's not this good.
That's the thing
Cat
with
the other way.
that's the thing with a lot of the top guys in the league. Like they're really good. They're elite talent, but they also get the benefit of the whistles, so they're also elevated by the league. Like the whistle Shea gets is absurd.
Someone made a comment last night. I didn't watch the Cleveland game, but they're saying every time Shea had the ball on the offense, he does a little push off to create separation to get his shot off.
Mm-hmm.
Which literally every time Cat does that, he gets an offensive foul called him.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable how often he gets called for an offensive foul. But Shea does it all the time. Well, he's a star. Like the league is behind him, I guess.
He also has this like he does kind of like a fake contact like head snap. There was a play where Mobley was in front of him, didn't touch him at all, and Shea just snapped his head back and jacked up a shot as if he got hit, and he got the call. And I get from certain angles you're not going to see if he got hit or not. I just think it's shitty to do that in the first place, and to make that like your move, like your go-to move is like, you would think the refs would look at the tapes of these things and be like, okay, this is what he's doing. Let's swallow the whistle a little bit.
I don't need AI to maybe call fouls, but can AI just be there to like just say if their contact didn't happen?
Right.
Get rid of this bullshit acting.
Yeah, I don't know. Have a sensor or something.
Yeah, like you couldn't take from camera. I don't know. There's got to be a way to have like cameras that basically will like we can see the camera like better than the naked eye that the contact didn't happen. You get a little alert, like a ref basically on the sideline just get a little alert. No contact there. Call the foul.
Well, the replays are instant. They call a foul before the guy takes a free throw. We know if it was an actual foul or not. You line up. They go, it's not a foul. You play ball again. You don't take the free throw. Like
the only thing they can do is that if after a play happens, they can take points away from the Knicks. That's the only thing they can do. The only thing they're allowed to do in between plays. That like they don't have to. No one has to challenge it. We just take points away from the Knicks. Knicks have to use their challenge to verify that was an actual block and not goaltending or an out of bounds ball. Like just unfair calls against the Knicks. Knicks have to use their challenges. Other teams are like, we didn't even speak up, and they took 7 points away from the Knicks.
It's literally every game. I'm like, why are the Knicks playing like 5-on-8? It's weird.
Oh my god,
it's weird.
It's really frustrating. But I wish Cat had the whistle that just because he really is fouled on so many plays.
Yeah.
Which I'm fine with if you can do it to the other team.
Right.
If the other team can have just as much contact, it's fine.
Sam writes, this is after the OKC game where Brunson's going to learn to have a different mentality against contending teams than he does against the bottom feeders of the league. He can't beat the Cavs, Celtics, OKC with the same mentality of a 55-point game against the Washington Wizards. Brunson and Hart in the fourth quarter were playing buddy ball and icing out Mikal, OG, and Cat past the effing ball. Yeah. They did seem to go away from the hot hands in the fourth also, which seems a little weird.
You live in some ways you live and die by your best players. Like the Lakers aren't winning when LeBron's off. Most of the time you're not winning when your best player's off. If Brunson is ice cold and playing a little hero ball, it happens. He should pass the ball more. But he's also like our best player.
Yeah, but Bridges and Cat were hot like the whole game, and I think Cat didn't touch the ball for like 6 straight minutes in the fourth. I forgot he was even in the game for a while.
It was ridiculous. Like I don't know how. There was also, what is the Bulls game that Cat didn't take a single three?
Yeah,
Not the Bulls game. Sorry, the yeah, it was the Bulls game. Yeah, he didn't play. He didn't play in the Magic game. Wait, was it the Bulls game or the?
I
Which
don't know.
game
It's
did he
one
not
of
take
the
a single
last.
three?
It was Bulls or Magic. I think it was the Bulls.
Or was it the Thunder game that he didn't take a single three? Yeah, the Thunder game. Cat didn't take a single three.
Oh,
He's one of your best 3-point shooters. How does he not take a three?
yeah, I don't know. That was weird.
There's got to be a bit of also Tibbs being like, "Hey guys, we have an unbelievable offensive big man. Get Cat the ball."
Right.
By the way, the one thing I've noticed that I was just watching the Raptor game and I was like, one thing I don't miss. So many years you had Melo run down the court and just like, give me the ball in the post. Randall, give me the ball in the post. There's no ball stoppers really on this team.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no one running on the ball and be like running down the court, being like, give me the ball. I'm going to dribble around. I'm going to like. The offense flows so much better now.
It does.
Okay.
We're almost out of time. Questions?
We're almost okay. Og as an influencer writes, is Tibbs not able to get it done, or is it the roster?
I don't know. Well, what do you mean by get it done? They're a third seed. They're going to finish most likely as the third seed.
I think what he's saying, Jay, have the Knicks won the title this year yet?
I mean, last year they had 6 injuries, and I would argue that
They-
5 of them weren't even minutes related.
Okay, so you're saying this season he's yet to win the title. He's not getting it done, Jay.
Okay, he'll get it done.
I think I think you give him a better bench, and this team would be even better. Brady writes, were you ever worried? Give him one more player on the bench. This team will be awesome.
Yeah.
Were you ever worried about the 3-game slump? How are you feeling ahead of another OKC matchup that's coming up on Friday, the next game? Do you agree with the Knicks Twitter in almost calling for Tibbs firing?
I was annoyed, but not like super worried. I was just frustrated, especially after the OKC game because I felt like the refs were particularly like
A little egregious there.
a little egregious. What was the second?
How you feeling heading into the next matchup? This is we're gonna play OKC at home in MSG.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I want the Knicks to beat some good teams. I don't want to duck them. I'm looking forward to it.
OKC is a hell of a team. They had some help from the refs. Knicks got tired. Let's play them at home. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about? Do you agree with the Knicks Twitter and almost calling for Tibbs firing?
I mean, we've been Tibbs defenders for a while.
Okay. And I think I made a show defending his minutes.
Yeah.
Daniel writes, and this is from Facebook, is Shamet a Band-Aid or a fill-in until Deuce is back? His shot has been terrible.
Shaman is probably going to be in the rotation when Deuce gets back, but maybe later in the season he won't be. But he's going to be on the rotation for a while, at least until Mitch and maybe a March replacement comes in.
Maybe Shamet, some of his shots will start falling. Hopefully,
He's looked better to me than Payne.
Yeah, I think in many ways when McBride comes back, he might just take Payne's minutes for a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Neither one's amazing. What everyone has been commenting on is that Shamet's defense has been like okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anthony writes, the Knicks are 1-3 since you guys got back from the break. When is your next vacation?
Well, that's your department, the vacations.
I'm taking a vacation in February.
There you go.
So maybe the Knicks will be awesome in February, mid-February. Anthony writes, is Jalen's shift to become more of a facilitator hurt the jumper or confidence in it?
I don't think it really affected either way. Just think he's in a slump. Players go through slumps once in a while. I do say I think the facilitator is helping other players like Bridges, but I don't think it's affected his shot. He's going through a rough stretch. It happens.
Yeah, he's also a bit banged up. I think that probably kind of like helps. Like that, like sometimes you're a little bit injured, your shot's off.
Yeah, he's been shooting like 30% for the last like 6-7 games. That also contributed to the losing streak.
Yeah, if he was playing well against OKC, they win the game.
Yeah.
He was not great against OKC. You live and die by your best players. So I agree that Tibbs is not. The minutes aren't crazy, but guys, in fairness, do need a little bit. Like guys are a little tired. Basically, it's mid-season. It's a long season. I guess they need some balance.
Yeah.
Anthony writes, last question. What can we do to improve the bench? We are dead last in almost every category. Which player can fit and improve this bench?
I mean, they're pretty much capped out. So they're gonna have to get somebody from the G League mid March. Hope Mitch comes back healthy, and they'll get McBride back soon. So
So they can't even sign like a 10-day contract. Can they sign?
what? I mean, what's that gonna do though?
I don't know. I'm just saying, can they sign anyone like a young player from like the G League? Well, maybe if they cut, I don't know. There's got to be something like Warren's more of a veteran, so like he has a certain because of the years in the league, he's guaranteed a certain amount of money. The Knicks can only pay $500,000.
I think so. Well, I'm gonna do some research
Whatever.
before next episode, but that's what I think.
It's pretty goddamn insane.
Yeah, but I'm sure if they get
Okay.
rid of somebody who's under contract, they could maybe buy somebody out. But I think they're down to like the rookies at this point. So
I mean, I guess people are saying like so people are talking about trading Mitch. I just don't think there's a lot of room to trade him either because I don't think a lot of teams want a guy who's injured for $15 million. I just don't think that's like a people aren't excited about that contract.
I just don't know what kind of value you're gonna get. I mean, for him anyway. Like who's available when you have like one of the better defenders and rebounders in the league? Like if you think he's going to come back for the playoffs, like it really doesn't matter if he misses 50, 60 games. Like if he's coming back for the playoffs, you're not going to get better value than that. So you're better off keeping him anyway.
Right. A healthy Mitch is better than anyone you're going to trade for.
Right.
And then the craziest take of all, there was some account from I think from the Strickland. They put out good content, but this account said the move the Knicks need to make is trading Josh Hart. That may be the year's dumbest take. Like that might be the year's dumbest take winner.
I mean,
Like,
speaking
There's
of
nothing's
not,
gonna be dumber.
not
outside of
getting
Tommy
equal value for the contract, like how are you going to replace what Hart does? Like,
Yeah, Hart's awesome. He's so good. He gives us so much, and he's on a good contract.
the rebounding, the
package him
playmaking, not to mention the team chemistry. Like, no, that's
Why you package Hart and McBride and make the roster worse?
hey, Jimmy wants a trade. Why don't we package Brunson and Bridges and get Butler?
Yeah. So yeah, there were probably people on Nick's Twitter who are like, "What if we can get Jimmy Butler? And what if we fire Tibbs and hire me to be the coach? Because I know more." Like,
The only person I would want instead of Tibbs is that awful coaching YouTube channel guy.
you know what? I'm sure there's some. Okay, here's the move that I'm sure someone wants to make is bring back Obi. They're like, if we just get Obi back, like everything will be okay.
I actually saw a Knox take today because he was G League Player of the Week.
Oh, okay. What's the take that he needs to continue to like? He's going to be awesome at some point.
He's in the perfect role right now. Let's let him stay there.
Yeah, let him cook in the G League.
Thanks for listening, everybody. The New York Knicks, NY Knicks Podcast at gmail.com is our email. NY Knicks Podcast on all social media, Patreon, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. And we have a Discord. The link is in all the socials. And we'll be back soon. Thanks for listening, everybody.
I love